Hi everyone, welcome back to Coffee Books and Rain. I'm Rachel with my coffee for the afternoon and doing a couple book reviews for you guys while the weather is a little cold, a little drizzly, and just in general making it feel awesome to stay cozy inside. I do want to say that I just got this book today in the mail. This is Not a Game by Kelly Mullen, and I am very excited. Now, I will be reviewing this for April, and I want to say it's April 8th. So, do plan on actually doing that one. But I just wanted to highlight the fact that I got a free copy, and I love that. I don't often get free copies like in physical form, but I love getting physical books because I do actually find that I read them faster. But that's just my personal thoughts. Probably read audiobooks fastest, then physical books, then ebooks. Sometimes my attention just wanders away with ebooks, so I find physical books actually work really, really well for me. But let's dive into today's book, which is actually going to be The Bane Witch. Now, The Bane Witch is one that at first I wasn't certain how I was going to feel about it because the two books that it kind of was compared to, I've only ever seen the movie adaptations of, and so one book was Practical Magic and the other was Gone Girl. And I couldn't also figure out how you could really link those two together too much either. But The Bane Witch does a really great job. Now, again, I've only ever seen both the Practical Magic movie and Gone Girl movie, so I'm not certain fully about like their book contents and how true they stay to the source material. But this book was captivating. This book was so incredibly good that I read this in probably 2 sittings. I just couldn't I couldn't put it down because I was so intrigued by the content. So this book does release March 13th, 2025. I will be releasing it just a little bit late, so by the time you get this episode, it's probably going to be just a little bit later in March, but hopefully not too much later. It is approximately 384 pages in paperback, and it is from St. Martin's Griffin. I guess that's the publishing company. And again, I don't even think I said, but Ava Morgyn, just here on the cover. Ava Morgyn is the author, and I think she did a phenomenal job. So let's dive in. Piers Corbin has always had an affinity for poisonous things, plants and men. From the pokeweed berries she consumed at age 5 that led to the accidental death of a stranger, to the husband whose dark proclivities have become, concerning. Poison has been at the heart of her story. But when she fakes her own death in an attempt to escape her volatile marriage and goes to stay with her estranged great aunt in the mountain, she realizes her predilection is more than a hunger, it's a birthright. Piers comes from a long line of poison eaters, Bane witches, women who ingest deadly plants and use their magic to rid the world of evil, or evil men. Piers sets out to earn her place in her family's gritty but distinguished legacy, all while working at her Aunt Myrtle's cafe and perpetuating a flirtation with the local well-meaning sheriff to allay his suspicion on the body count she's been leaving in her wake. But soon she catches the attention of someone else, a serial killer operating in the area. Ooh. And that only means one thing. It's time to feed. In Ava Morgan's dark, thrilling novel, The Bane Witch, a very little poison can do a world of good. Now, this says in the genres. Now, I agree with fantasy, witches, mystery, fiction, and thriller, and even paranormal to a degree. But it's the romance part that I'm a little hung up on because I think the romance is, gosh, not even really 5%. I think towards the end, you're kind of rooting for her to have a happy ending because you feel like she's just kind of been suffering so much. But I almost didn't even really need it. I don't really think that that was the strongest part of the book to really think about. So, would I call this a romance? No, probably not. There is one, if I remember, fade to black scene between her and the sheriff, But other than that, romance is kind of a thing that she avoids at all costs on purpose. And I'm talking about Piers, not the author. Piers as a character is a very interesting character, and I really, really liked her in a lot of different ways because she is flawed, and a lot of what she does is very accidental because she doesn't even know her own abilities. But let's just start from the beginning. So, let me take a sip of coffee and we'll go from there. So Piers has been in a pretty much a DV situation at home. Her husband is very cruel to her, very controlling, and does a lot of things to her that make her keep her in line, so to speak. And she reaches a point where she has truly had enough, and she starts planning. She knows he has cameras on the house, so she figures out a way to get out like a bathroom window. She knows he keeps tabs on all of her credit cards, so she can only have cash, and so she has to figure out like what's the best way to get that. How can she get that? Like how can she, because her husband is so controlling, what are the things she can control in order to start trying to help herself escape the situation? So she really takes a lot of planning to do the things that she needs to do in order to fake her own death. And so when it comes to, like in the summary says, eating poisonous things like this pokeweed, which I was going to Google and then I just totally forgot. So maybe I'll toss in a picture of what pokeweed looks like. Maybe I won't if I forget. But when she was younger, when she was about the age of 5, she had eaten some and it didn't hurt her, but then someone else tried to hurt her. And maybe that's more of in a CA sort of situation. Um, that person ended up passing away. And it was kind of blamed on her. She had taken her first life, and I think her mom realized it. But that's because her mom was also one of these, even though her mom had kind of turned her back on that way of life. And she didn't want to be part of like what I would call the coven, even though I think they call it the venery. And she didn't want to participate in their I guess yeah, in their activities, which is kind of more or less eating these poisonous things. And as a Bane witch, they kind of are able to store that poison in their body without it hurting them in any way, and then use that as a way to inflict harm on someone else, usually particularly a man, who has done evil in some way. And so Piers knows, based on accidental touching and stuff of men, if they are one of the bad ones are not or not. She's able to kind of infer or read them in a way where she's able to almost see their victims in her head or see what they've done to people. And then her power seems to be able to help her then go ahead and end that branch of the tree. And so when Piers is running from her husband, now why she didn't know this about herself until she gets to her great aunt Myrtle's. So, well, as she's younger and growing up, and then she marries this very evil man, Henry, and she's trying to escape. There is an accidental victim where she agrees to a ride from a guy. I guess he thinks that he's going to get lucky, and so when she said she hits him in the throat, but he starts to get sick and like very violently ill to the point that he passes away. Well, now she is like oh crap, like what just happened? I didn't think I hit him that hard. Well, now she's in his car. He's pulled over on the side of the road somewhere. And so she takes it somewhere so she can like drop it off and like try to escape. And so she does that. Well, now she's left a victim in her wake, but she's still trying to get to the place where she feels like her great Aunt Myrtle is from what she remembered from childhood, because she's not seen her great Aunt Myrtle since then. And so she gets up there and she gets to where her great Aunt Myrtle is, only to find out that as she's getting up there, because it takes like a bus, and then she does hitchhike with someone else, but he's a much more trustworthy person. She is able to get where she's going and finds her great aunt, which is great, but that's when she starts to learn about the things she's able to do with by consuming these poisonous plants, and then almost conveying that potency, that poison, through other means. And so this one guy comes into her great aunt's cafe, and there's a woman with him who looks very beaten up, bruised, like bloody lips, that sort of thing. And he's like, oh, she fell. But of course, as soon as Piers sees him, and she knows, like her mind, her ability tells her and shows her what he has done to this woman. So she gets really mad. And so, but in her anger, all she does is she spits in his coffee. She's like, nah, you know what? You're gonna get this poison spit. Well, then he falls over dead. And so now it's like, crap, what the heck is going on? Her aunt teaches her what this ability is, what being a Bane witch means. I will say it was a little slow in the beginning, and I want to say it took us like 30% of the book to even figure out what a Bane witch was. I want to say that I made that note that I left like in my office. I had a couple other notes as well that I had also written down, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is good. Oh yeah, this is good. Of course, I leave those at my office on the day that I'm going to be recording. So I really liked this book. It's intense because once she gets to this area where her great aunt is, this serial killer almost starts like circling their area, like he is stalking or hunting something. And so he really is. It has some dark moments in this book, good but dark, and I was absolutely intrigued. Now, some of the things that I thought were a little like I had to suspend a little bit of disbelief is the police officer, I think his name is Reyes, who is from the Carolina, North or South Carolina, where she's from. He kind of takes a vacation, so to speak, and he goes to try to find her because there's something about her. But he also said she saved his life, and I'm not sure if I missed it or what, but he said she saved his life, and I don't remember them explaining how Piers saved his life, or if like I said, I was trying to read it so fast, like I was so engaged in reading it so fast that I missed that part. Not sure. But I think just in general, how he was able to track her down in like middle of nowhere area was very weird to me, because again, Piers is really, her ability is more to draw these evil men towards her, so she's able to kind of like a poisonous plant that smells really good. It draws its victims towards them, sort of thing. And so I guess whatever it is about her, it draws the evil towards her. Well, Reyes is not evil. He is literally not there to put her in jail. He was like, I do think at one point he may have said, I need to take you into custody, but he never follows through on that, and he does kind of like ultimately let her go. That might be a spoiler, but I'm just going to go ahead and give you that one. But yeah, I don't know how he okay, there were some parts I get. Like she took she got the car, can follow that. We got a bus ticket. We got that. We can get to this point. But how did we get from that point where the bus dropped her off to where she was going, which was supposedly quite a few miles away, that walking would have been, it would have taken like all day. It would have taken like, I think it was like 10 miles or something like that, away from the place where the bus was the closest. So I think that's my only concern. It's like, how did they know where to go? Because no one knew about this great aunt. Like, her mom had already passed, so no one was able to share information about this great aunt. That's my only thought. The ending was pretty satisfactory. Again, I don't really think we need to classify this as a romance book because the action was really. There is the paranormal aspect of it, of, again, the witches who utilize poisonous plants in their body in order to poison other people. That's fine. But yeah, I still think Piers leaves a little bit too many bodies in her wake to really be all that innocent. Sure, I get it. It's very much like that whole, like, vigilante justice sort of thing, which, if the regular legal system is not working for you, I'm not certain I completely agree with taking matters into your own hands, but seems to work for these witches. It seems to work for these ladies. And again, it's a fiction book, so we are suspending our rational moral belief to read a book. But with all of that being said, I'm going to leave it there. I had a good time reading this book, and I read it super fast. I just really kept wanting to know what was going to happen and how things were going to, like, culminate in the end, which, again, very satisfying. So I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you have not liked and subscribed already, I certainly hope you will. Maybe give me a thumbs up if you don't mind. And I will see you guys on the next page. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.